Estimated to be worth over $50 billion, the speaking business has come to stay as one of the world's leading industries. How then does one turn the simple act of speaking into a money-spinning business venture? To answer this question, we journey to South Africa to engage with one of Africa's foremost and renowned professional speakers so as to uncover the do's and don'ts of success in the speaking business. Welcome, mental wellness coach and peak performance trainer, Joshua Olson.
You just need to decide to speak and speak everywhere and anywhere.
Everywhere and anywhere.
Why? Because just like muscles, you're also getting your speaking skills and career. All muscles get strengthened. Developing of your skills as a speaker also requires that you develop content before you are required to give them. And so I remember required to give them. And speaking, and my sisters would laugh and my mom would be wondering why they're laughing at me. And they were wondering, you're just talking to us and you're behaving as if you're speaking at an international.
So there's no specific background, speaking about background, because every human being has a background. It's just that they have varieties of background. And for speaking, every background has weight. It now depends on you, the speaker, to find out what are the unique aspects of your background that can resonate with your target audience. That's what I'm conjecturing from this postulation. And it's deep actually, if you tell me.
If you really truly want to develop your speaking skills and develop yourself as a professional speaker, find a way to connect with people who are doing it. Alright? And find a way to build your skills. I mean, think about it. There are people who will pay you some money, and usually when you've developed yourself so much, when people put you on the spotlight helps you see a whole lot more in that core area of focus. And here is what happened. As that person asked me, what does ITY represent? I suddenly thought, and I had this aha moment. I represent inspiration. T represents truly. Y represents yours. Inspiration truly yours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the first thing you did when you thought about marketing widely,
That's right,
is to be an author.
That's right.
What about those who don't have proficiency for writing?
Now, again, the same way some people think that they don't have a message, that's the same way they think that they don't have something to say. Now, we have been having a conversation. This conversation is a lot of data.
True.
And this data is content.
True.
I always say, and by the way, I heard this from my friend who used to work for Obama. He said, content is king and platform is queen.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Now, what we are saying, this voice display, this expression of our vocal cords to unpack the insight that is trapped within our medulla oblongata, is to basically help everyone to realize that as much as we are unpacking content, that content needs a platform like this beautiful channel of yours. The same way some people would watch this, that is the same way some people would be able to.
So if you cannot write, you can speak,
Vocalize it.
do audio and
Vocalize it.
or video,
Vocalize it.
and then push it out.
Absolutely.
Look for channels where you can push it out.
So in vocalizing it, it then gets recorded. The recording can be transcribed, and the transcription can be edited, and the editing can then form a book, and that book becomes your best business card.
And let me also chip in, because some people like things broken down to its most simplest basis.
Okay.
If you don't have writing proficiency, although most times people think they don't have it, it can be developed like muscles. Nobody was born with strong, thick muscles. We all have to develop them.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have the time or the wherewithal to develop your writing proficiency, there are lots of ghostwriters out there.
Totally agree.
Record your message, give it to them, and they will turn it into a book for you.
Absolutely.
I just felt I should drop that in the box.
So important, because again, you can't do everything by yourself.
You can't.
You can't do everything by yourself.
Totally agree.
There's that interesting, talk about the Lone Ranger. that, he went alone. Now, I don't agree he went alone. Tonto, his horse, was with him. Everybody needs somebody.
Everybody needs somebody. And you can always get, if you search and look, as a matter of fact, if you put your mind to it, the universe will attract those who are going to do it for you.
Absolutely.
But if you cannot write, if writing is not your thing, then you can do DVDs.
Absolutely. Vocalize it, do an audio book, and to be able to do an audio work, have an interview, a conversation. When you ask quality questions, you get quality answers.
True. And you can do vlogs, you can do podcasts, and you can have a YouTube channel where you push your message to the world, or you can seek a television channel such as ours, where you can push your ideas to the world, and that becomes your signature, and that becomes your authority totem, as it were.
Right.
Because I'm taking away that, I hope you're not going to ask me for copyright. When you're an author, you become an authority. And an author does not mean just writing a book alone. You could also be an author who has a CD or a DVD out there. What are the other marketing tools that you can deploy to help your speaking business?
So one very important thing, if you look through this conversation we've had thus far, one very important thing that we have done is that we have chronicled some steps or strategies that will lead anyone who wants to succeed in the speaking industry to attain success. Call it a recipe. So if you want to cook a good meal, simply follow the recipe. Now, these recipes that we have unpacked can become tools for anyone who wants to succeed in the speaking industry. Let that person also begin to help people learn the recipe. Because as you learn the recipe, you can lead in that area.
Wow. Talking about recipe, I've deduced from you now that looking for platforms or fora where you can speak is also a marketing tool. Your online platforms are marketing tools.
Yes.
Your branding effort and packaging and marketing tools. Your associations are marketing tools. You can also recognize, if you want to, that your place of domicile can be a marketing tool. One of my role models in this business, Richmond Johnson, once told me that your address is also a marketing tool. Where is your office located?
Right.
Where can we find you?
Right.
And people ask, he told me one day, people will say, who is his wife? I said, that far? He said, yes, that far, but that close. People see your children and it becomes a marketing tool for you. The way they come across, the way they behave, the way your wife relates with people. And that, for a lot of people, is a marketing tool. One of my friends also, he tells me, the kind of car you drive, the brand of car you arrive in is a marketing tool. The schools you've been to, whether for short courses, is a marketing tool. And we can go on and on, but because of exigency of time, we're going to have to leave it there and let our people go and do their own research to expand on marketing. But related to marketing is selling. How do you sell in this business? You're not going to stand on the street. I mean, I want to sell gala, for instance. I know I'll be okay if I place them on the shelves in supermarkets and I give it to some street guys to go and hawk on the street, or I sell it online. I'm not going to go on the street or online or embed myself in a supermarket to hawk my business. I'm a speaker, I'm a professional speaker. How do I sell my expertise?
So first off, you need to realize that you, being the brand, you're a walking message system.
Wow.
And so you need to find the platforms. How do you find the platforms? You create the platforms. So for example, there are social media channels and platforms that you can use to communicate what you are passionate about. Or find something in your society or place of residence or continent to pick on and unpack the value that are in those challenges. People will then see you as more or less an authority or a thought leader in that core area of focus. So I'll give you an example.
Please.
There's a construction building, 10 to 15 floors, residential executive apartments that is going up in front of my office building as I speak with you in South Africa. Now, there was a day I suddenly thought, even though people are on holiday, and people usually take the holidays very, very seriously.
Yeah.
I'm one person who, if I have work to do, I go to the office.
You're Nigerian.
So I showed up in the office on one holiday in the, pent space, open space of my office building. And I could overlook into the construction work that was going on. And I picked up my smartphone and I put it in front of me and began to record me with that background of the construction, using it as a resource to say, as much as these guys who are doing the work in this building are not at work today, I would like to use it to point to one very important value: the need for all of us to learn to pause. And that video was seen by a man who sits on the board of an 85 million pounds British company.
Online.
Yes. And so he requested that I have a meeting with him when he was having his next trip into South Africa, and we met in Sandton. Now here's the funny thing about it. He would never have heard about me. He would not have taken me seriously if he did not see some content that made him appreciate it. Now, aside the fact that he watched that video, he also did his checks. And one of his contacts told him that I'm a key resource. And that's how he took my work very, very seriously. In the next 1 year, we're going to be doing some big work together.
I can imagine.
No.
And what I'm conjecturing from that, or deducing from that, not conjecture now, is that having that foundational chain of safety nets, as it were, that can bounce you back up like a bouncing castle.
Right.
Of being members of different associations, having quality work, a pedigree that can be cited. You should also think innovatively and creatively.
Absolutely.
When you go about marketing, so that you're not just in people's faces, you are able to gain their attention with your marketing tool. Because a construction company will be a rare thing. You haven't gone on air, you haven't gone online, sorry. I'm into broadcasting, so permit me if I say on air too frequently.
Okay.
You haven't gone online to say, hi, I'm Dr. Joshua Awesome. I'm into wellness and mental this and that, patronize me. You haven't gone online to say that. You have simply gone online to add value.
Absolutely.
By using a creative medium to illustrate
Totally.
the message that you're trying to pass across. And that resonated with many people, one of whom you cited the example now.
Yep.
So that could be a strong way of doing marketing.
Absolutely.
In this business, be creative,
Very, very
be innovative.
important.
And if you think you don't have such proficiency, hire someone to do it for you.
Absolutely.
Coming up.
In my career, the fact that I go the extra mile is a key factor for a lot of people. That's the one. The second bit of it is that when I go the extra mile, I do stuff that people don't do. If you do what you've never done, you get the results you've never gotten. So I don't do what people basically do.
How do you ensure that you retain your customers and encourage them to bring more customers into the pool?
So let's realize that a satisfied customer is your best ambassador.
True.
Now, when I think of some of the global clients that we do work for, one global organization became the bridge for a bigger global organization. Now, so when I think about that, the way to get that to happen is to serve much more than one is paid for. over-deliver than the paycheck.
Under promise, over deliver.
Absolutely.
Over deliver.
Yes. So the paycheck may be X amount, but deliver much more than they offer. Give something extra to the point that you are in the mind of those who engaged you. And that becomes a key resource to set you apart from people that they have worked with in the past. And so for me, that's one of the things that I do. The point is, everyone, appreciates people who appreciate them.
True.
Let's not, get into anything that basically is dragging us into, that's point where we think stuff that we're saying is not important. You need to constantly be finding mind space in people's minds, and to be able to do that, do things that people would naturally not do. So I was in Nigeria, and the year was coming to an end, and I knew it was the birthday of a client of mine. So I phoned their office. They said she'd gone on holiday to Canada. And I said to myself, what's the other way to get the message across to this woman? I don't know where she stays in Canada, but one thing that I did was that I immediately, on my way to the airport, picked my smartphone and recorded a video in motion and called her name, and she could tell, of course, when she saw the video that I was in motion, that I am on my way to the airport right now, but I just wanted to say to you that you are very special, and I wanted to wish you a birthday wish. And I sent that video wish. I got the opportunity to fly the entire 25 members of staff of that company to South Africa for their next year-end strategy session.
Wow.
Now, what did I do? Just a video call.
Yeah, but it's a strong. Yeah, and I like the phrase you used, emotional connectors.
Oh yes.
This is about selling.
It is.
Selling is largely about emotionality
Very important.
rather than logicality.
And people buy because of emotions. Let's not deceive us.
I totally agree.
I love a particular phone brand, and I've had the one before it. Now I have another one, and in my home, that's the way it is.
Because they were able to connect with you in one way or the other emotionally.
Absolutely.
So people buy largely, if not totally, for emotional reasons rather than logical reasons.
Totally agreed. And it's quite funny, there's something people say, no, it's not about emotions. Don't be sentimental. Business is not about emotions. Sorry, they lied to you. Business is about emotions. I will not deal with you if I don't feel that there's some connection emotionally. If I feel that you don't care,
or I don't like you,
or I don't like you, I won't. So that's why
prospecting, prospecting for customers or having customer retention or repeat patronage, one must take cognizance of emotional connectors and utilize it optimally.
Very important. Very important. People do business with people they trust. And when they trust you, then they know that you can deliver and bring more value, in that regard.
Now, let's touch more on this emotional connector thing. What are the other examples you can cite?
Now, I really like to use my own story as an example. And that's one of the things that over and over again I look at has become a key resource for me. In my career, the fact that I go the extra mile is a key factor for a lot of people. That's the one. The second bit of it is that when I go the extra mile, I do stuff that people don't do. If you do what you've never done, you get the results you've never gotten. So I don't do what people basically do. So for example, I'm going to do a team build. I want to know what the favorite color of the organization is. I embed that into my dress sense. Very, very important. Identity, loyalty. That helps them to recognize that this man is really interested in us. Then I do research about the brand. I know what is happening to them and what has happened to them. So I'm able to embed that into my presentation and not think that it's all about, me just wanting to give my regular speech. Another very interesting thing, something new happens to them or their brand. I see it in the paper. I cut it out. Write a letter, handwritten letter. Put it in the mail. Send it. They see that you took note of them, that you are not just interested in their business. They can't forget you. So those are certain subtle ways, and they are very cheap to do those things.
Yeah.
Certain subtle ways by which we sustain mind share and mind space in the lives and hearts of brands and businesses. And you will be amazed at how much business that can attract for you. Now,
Rather than advertising in traditional media.
You know, so those basic things, some people would say, doesn't make any sense, doesn't mean anything. They mean a whole lot.
I agree.
They mean a whole lot. I mean, for example, right now that social media is active, I do videos to celebrate a person. I put it on my own social media platform. So that person sees it. Other friends of that person see that, oh, okay, I'm celebrating this person, or I know this person. It helps them to want to identify with me because they know, okay, if you relate with this person, then you must be someone who is doing something very unique and stuff like that. You know, so those things go a very, very, very long way, that it will only take your business further and far.
So relationship marketing
Absolutely
is very key
absolutely that's
to
a
success in this
major
business.
one. Major.
Relationship
Yes,
marketing.
major.
So you don't dissipate your financial resources too much
Absolutely,
into traditional advertising
Absolutely.
and spending so much on events. Those are important, they are necessary, they are useful. But if you're a startup, for example, or even if you've been in the business for a long time, relationship marketing will help to catapult you to success.
So-
Coming up,
If you find out that what you are being paid is not what you want to earn, learn. Make the sacrifice. There's a price to pay for everything. Nothing happens by chance. Choose the outcome you want and pay the price to get that outcome. Another very interesting thing that I do is that I get a video testimonial.
Wow, from the clients.
Absolutely. So, what was it that you liked the best in my presentation? And as I sit in front of you right now, I have over 20 video testimonials from people around the world. In Canada, the US, Ireland, Africa, Asia.
So it's like seeing is believing.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you that I have contacts in Canada. It's easy to say, but when you hear a Canadian,
Here you see.
yes, you hear a Canadian, you see a Canadian giving feedback to a Dr. Joshua Awesome's presentation at an international conference, you know he's not talking or blabbing.
Yep.
You see an Irish woman giving video feedback for a Dr. Joshua Awesome, you know he's not blabbing.
Especially if there are people who are credible in their rights.
Absolutely. You see a Chinese, giving a video testimonial for a Dr. Joshua Awesome after a conference, you know he's not blabbing. You see an American giving a video feedback for a Dr. Joshua Awesome, you know he's not blabbing. Because it's easy for you to write stuff and say, so said, and you put someone, you write USA or you write Canada. But when you see a video, that one is stuff you cannot fall.
So testimonials help.
Absolutely. And what does that tend to resonate? And I have a quote that came from my climbing of Kilimanjaro to say that it is people that enable people to succeed.
And people's perception
Absolutely.
will determine how they refer or recommend you,
That's right.
and so on and so forth. And you mentioned Kilimanjaro.
Yes, sir.
When you were climbing the Mount Kilimanjaro,
Yes.
I said to myself, well, Joshua loves adventure. I know him for that. But whether he knows this or not, this is also a marketing tool.
Indeed.
Because Richard Branson used a lot of that, to brand and market and even sell the Virgin brand. So don't just say because I'm a speaker, I'll just stay as a speaker.
Right.
If you have proficiency in some other areas or stunts, I mean, one of my friends, whom I also know is your friend, Dayo Olomu,
Right.
did a stunt some time ago where he took a parachute jump from the air, you know, and for me, that's a lot. It's going to generate a lot of mileage.
Definitely.
I mean, Dayo Olomu, whom we all know, is not a risk taker in terms of being a reckless person. I mean, the Dayo Olomu that I knew, is not someone that will be reckless about anything. So when I saw on social media that he was going to take a jump from certain miles from the sky, I said, is Dayo serious about this? So I waited for the D-Day. And when I saw, he actually took a video of the jump. And when I saw it, I said, okay. So Femi, you've got to go on some form of adventure.
Absolutely. And guess what? While you were talking about Kilimanjaro, I suddenly remembered that there was a telecom brand, the #1 telecom brand in Nigeria and the biggest in Africa. I had tried to approach them to hire me as a speaker before I climbed Kilimanjaro. They didn't take me seriously. After I climbed Kilimanjaro, they hired me.
Wow.
And paid me in dollars.
Wow.
So in other words, that validated he's worth listening to now. He has a story, he has an experience that we connect with.
Wow. And if yours is not climbing or doing hot air balloon like Richard Branson, find some passion. It could be swimming, it could be dancing, it could be riding a bike, and so on and so forth.
Do something. There's always something to do.
There's always something you can do that will be unique, that will be fresh, that will be unusual, and that will gain the attention of your target market. Before we let you go, we can't talk about selling without talking about pricing.
Right.
And I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs who tell me they have a confusion about fixing a price for their service or products. Speaking in Africa is not something a lot of people want to pay for, because they think to themselves, I will speak every day. And that tends to demoralize a lot of practitioners.
Right.
So we want you to tell us, if you can, what strategies can one adopt, or what are the options available in terms of the template you can utilize to fix prices for your services?
So again, back to the African Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology. If you decide to be part of a body like that, things around how much the industry pays people becomes part of your learning. And so you know where you are with regards to development and delivery, and then you are able to peg your fees and say, okay, I will earn X amount, I will earn Z amount, I will earn A amount, I will earn F amount, I will earn D amount, I will earn Y amount.
So there is already an existing categorization, which you can plug yourself and move yourself around.
Depending on the level of development you've given to yourself. I'm not bragging, but the truth about it is that what I was earning when I started, they are miles apart from then and now. And that's why what I said, where I was is not where I am. Where I am is not where I'm going to be. In other words, I said that to say this. If you find out that what you are being paid is not what you want to earn, learn more. Make the sacrifice. There's a price to pay for everything. Nothing happens by chance. Choose the outcome you want and pay the price to get that outcome.
So your pedigree, your perceived pedigree, your perceived value,
absolutely,
will all add up to determine what you're worth in the eye of the market.
Totally.
What you're worth in the eye of the market. So I'd like to know, I mean, I understand if you're on such a board or you join such an association, you can have a template that categorizes, just like the premiership
Right.
There are A clubs in the Premier League.
True.
There are B clubs, there are C clubs, and there are those who are just there. So you know where you belong. I can understand that, and that can form the basis on which you build your pricing strategy. But I reckon that that's not the only option available to you as a professional speaker. What are the other options?
Well, to be honest with you, that is the most important. Because again, if you don't know what the industry requires, you will not be able to demand that of people who are trying to engage people in the industry. And so that, to a large extent, I would like to respectfully say that if you are not part of a professional body that regulates the industry or that is the standard for the industry, you will not get the value that you desire or deserve. So here is what I'm going to say. Find a way to be part of the right bodies. It gives you automatic credibility. It helps people to pay you what you are worth or what you want to earn. So I'll give you an example.
Please.
You start off by earning maybe $100. Let's say you earn $100, and that's the minimum. The truth about it is that you can begin to see yourself earning $2,000 or earning $25,000.
Even within a short time.
I would not say it will happen within a short time, but I will say that consistent earning of a certain amount in that short time can happen. So for example, you can earn $100 or earn $500 consistently. By the time you look at it within a 1 year cycle or 2 year cycle or 3 year cycle, you have earned a certain amount consistently. And that earning also helps you to grow in the industry because you also appreciate yourself. And there are certain ways to spin it where you put a book as part of a learning package or as a presentation package for an organization. So instead of you earning $100, they may end up paying you $1,000 when they add your books to that package that you are giving. So there are several ways to spin it. That's why, again, this knowledge, this experience, this exposure that I have comes from involving myself in the professional bodies that has helped me to be able to see the value and then demand the value from my own clients.
Wow. So you need to be creative.
So important.
You need to be practical.
Absolutely.
But most importantly, you need to figure out what the industry template is like, whether written or unwritten. I still need you to tell us, in this business, there has to be accounting rules for managing your books because it's a business and you have to manage the cash flow. Awesome Associates is built around Joshua Awesome, no doubt about that. But Joshua Awesome is a separate entity from Awesome Associates because Awesome Associates is an organic business entity, is a living entity.
That's right.
So how do you manage the lifeblood, which is the cash flow
So the easiest
of your
way
organization?
The easiest way to do it is to find an accounts clerk.
Yeah.
Okay. An accounts clerk that you don't necessarily keep on a retainer. And if you find those who are part of the association, the accounting industry, you will find people who easily are trying to just walk their way up that industry. Those people will have some basic knowledge on accounting, and then you can engage them to help you with your basic accounting for your speaking business. Now, to just bring it into perspective, the truth about it is that aside that, there are also some free apps that you can find on the internet that you can download to your phone or download onto your computer, depending on the type of device you use. I mean, I'm an Apple person, and so I'm able to use so as much as we have an accountant who is licensed by the auditing network and body in South Africa, because a CA in South Africa needs to do your books for the revenue services to take you more seriously and stuff like that. But in the case that you haven't even made money to the point where you are hiring a CA, or someone who is lower than a CA, what you need to realize is that you can find an accounts clerk, who helps you with your basic books and your basic accounting. But every expense that you make sure you plug it into that book record. And every expense you want to make, before you even make an expense, say for example you've earned $100 and they paid it to you in cash, go and pay it into your account first and then withdraw it. that inflow helps to see some form of activity in your business and your account. It also helps you to feel very good about your business growth.
True.
But aside that, those basic apps are able to help you to see the flow in your business. And that pretty much gives you some insight as to how to begin to grow your business and build your brand and focus more on developing it so that it becomes one that you are proud of and it remains an entity that then begins to pay you over time.
Wow.
Yes.
So these softwares, you have used them judiciously.
Yep. And
managing.
even as I speak with you, as I'm here away from South Africa, I'm able to look onto my phone and see, the flow in our earnings as a business. And to the point that even when a client who we have a retainer with, for example, and there are some clients that we have retainers with, their next invoice is due, I'm able to see, okay, the next invoice for X client is due tomorrow, because that app also helps me to be able to see it and helps me know the number of clients who are even owing us.
Wow.
Yes. So again, that is where industry exposure comes into play, where you expose yourself to the right people and expose yourself to the right associations, and then you're able to do the right thing and grow yourself the right way that will help grow your business from being local to becoming global.
So it doesn't just work for marketing, it also works for bookkeeping and accounts.
Absolutely.
Wow. What are the revenue streams? I know, for instance, speaking as a professional speaker, when you speak, you get paid for it. When you facilitate sessions, when you get retainership, we know those ones. You've talked about them. What are the other revenue streams?
So coaching is big right now on the continent. And a lot of organizations are beginning to hire external coaches that come to work with their group. And in working with their group, within those organizations, they have internal coaches that are members of some of the bodies that I belong to, for example. So that's why I said if you're not part of those bodies, they won't be able to work with you. Why? Because they have an internal coach who is part of those bodies already. So if you approach them in a way that somebody who is not a coach approaches them, it's already a no-no. Because their internal coach knows how the coaching bodies operate.
Coming up.
What are the other revenue streams that one could think about so that you know that maximizing your opportunities to earn should not be restricted to speaking engagements alone? It's important that we let people know that there are ancillary opportunities that are available by way of revenue stream.
The second, other way is by you can make money from royalties of contents. So for example, you write a book. It is your book, but that book can be given to a publishing house to reprint in another language.
True.
And there are hundreds of languages around the world that would appreciate a fresh perspective, particularly a perspective from Africa. Why am I saying this? Recently, somebody whose book was published in South Africa, and I won't mention his name because of something that has to do with what I'm about to say. He works on the continent, and his book was so emotive that a competitor approached him specifically around the content of his book, and they asked him if he's able to run a session for them. And then before that, they asked him, will this not be a conflict? And he said, and I quote, I am not using the knowledge in my book for my client. As a matter of fact, we've never used it. And they helped him they got him to sign an NDA to be able to engage with them. So that's
Another revenue.
The other one is audio. So a lot of people create audio content of their own and they sell it at events. That is the lowest level of earning when it comes to audio. Where I come from and live, there is a partnership we have with an organization that once you have an audio book, you can load that audio book onto their platform and earn money for life.
Wow.
Now, the truth about it is that not everybody would know stuff like that.
True.
And so, constantly we need to be asking ourselves, are we associating right? Because it's as we associate right that we'll discover the new opportunities and possibilities. That's why the issue of joining a professional association should not be considered. It should be seized.
Should be seized.
Yes, because when you seize it, it brings you into that space and place where several opportunities are easily coming your way. So several things that have happened to me in the last 1 to 2 years have come by virtue of connect through the associations that I found myself.
So that you are open to new distribution channels.
Yes.
Because for instance, those who have audio productions tend to think it's when they have their CDs or DVDs being sold physically. But here you're telling us there are other distribution platforms by which your products can reach the market and your earnings can come back to you.
Another very interesting thing is that your book can become a film.
Yeah.
Now,
I've seen that happen.
the truth about it is that you don't see too many of that happen on the continent. But the
T.D. Jakes' Woman Thou Had Loosed
yes, okay.
became a movie that grossed so much.
And the beautiful
Chimamanda Adichie's Half of a Yellow Sun.
she's the one that I was actually going to mention.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, Chimamanda doesn't live in Nigeria. What it means is that as much as you're a local person or brand,
Think global
think global and connect global.
and connect global.
Because when you do that, what it does is that it brings local relevance to your work from a global scale. And there's a price to pay for everything. Be willing to pay that price and make the sacrifice and connect with the people that will help you see things from the perspective you are not seeing it, possibly because you are not there.
I was told that, not even told, I gathered reliably, before Professor Chinua Achebe died, 50 Cent wanted to turn Things Fall Apart into a movie. And he offered Professor Achebe millions of dollars. He kept turning it down. He offered him millions of dollars. I can't be exact about the figure anymore, but he started with $5 million. He was going to pay Professor Achebe $5 million to give him the right to turn Things Fall Apart into a movie. Achebe refused. He kept upping again. Achebe kept refusing. For reasons best known to Prof. If he was alive, I would have asked him. I'm sure he will have his good reasons.
Right.
But that can be a revenue stream.
True.
I just felt I should chip that in.
Very important. Very, very important.
So what are the other revenue streams that one could think about? So that you know that maximizing your opportunities to earn should not be restricted to speaking engagements alone. It's important that we let people know that there are ancillary opportunities that are available by way of revenue stream.
You know, one of the things I usually like to
I also know that YouTube, you can have your videos put on YouTube and you get paid these days.
absolutely because of viewership.
Yes.
Now, here's one thing that I think we do too much of. We're always looking for new ways to make money. How about we review the ones that we already knew? So here's what I'm going to say. And this is my last suggestion with regards to earning money around speaking. Focus on all the things that we have said. Because a lot of times, the lenses of a camera would only pick a visual when it is focused. But a lot of times, there's a need to refocus. So here's my suggestion. How about people refocus their focus on all the things that we have outlined? Because yeah, we may be looking for new ways, but how about we re-look the old ways?
So that you don't suffer like that man who went around the world searching for his acres of diamond when he already had the acres of diamond right underneath his ground. I agree. I want to chip in also that endorsement also works. I mean, if you are a notable speaker, brands will approach you for endorsement and you will earn endorsement money like the musicians and the actors and actresses. I also know that you could have a television program or a radio program.
Right.
You could also be asked to be a judge on certain programs or reality shows. I also know that you could be asked to come and merchandise different products for manufacturers. Some smart guy somewhere who wants to produce maybe a wristwatch, or let's just even mention like a shoe. My own competence is in the area of shoe production. If I push my shoe out there, Femi Ipadeola as a shoemaker is not a known brand. But if I can get TD Jakes to sign a partnership with me, whereby these are lovely shoes, and I can put TD Jakes' name on the shoes, on the products, then sell to the world, and we share the profit. So that could be a revenue stream as well. You know, so I think we can go on and on about this revenue stream thing. The possibilities are endless in the speaking business, and people need to take cognizance of that fact. Before I let you go, people go into business also because they want to leave themselves for the world when they depart from the world. Legacy conscious purpose. Some person listening to us out there might be thinking to himself, as a professional speaker or in the speaking business, once I die, my business dies. I know of the Nightingales of this world, Conant Nightingale. I know that Miles Monroe's estate is still earning as we speak. I know that Mike Murdoch's estate is earning. But I would need you, as someone who is in the business of speaking, to address that concern for those who might be concerned about the legacy they leave behind. How do I ensure that this business outlives me?
So again, you start thinking of the future from the present.
Think of the future from the present.
So one of my mentors, you know, who I call my values mentor.
Or can I say, think of your post-existence while you are existing.
Nice. And one of my values.
One of your mentors.
Yeah, one of my mentors, who I call my values mentor, Professor Patu Tomi, says you should think intellectual immortality. And so, what is intellectual immortality? Stuff like books. You know, stuff like audio, stuff like video. Make sure that it eventually finds its way to a place that is beyond you. So for example, I've talked about a film right now. When you have to get a film done, that is now beyond your own reach as a person. Even if you own a production company, to get a film company to do your film that is not local automatically means that you have a royalty that will be coming from that film over time. That's the one. The second thing is that if you publish an audio work or a book, again, find a way to make sure that it gets replicated in places beyond your current locality. So for example, having it in maybe Mandarin, for example, or having it in Swahili, or having it in other African languages. And point I'm trying to make is that the moment you do that, you put yourself on a legacy path that gives you the opportunity to be able to earn money from your work that will outlive you, and then register an estate around it. Now, the moment you have an estate around it, those royalties will be paid into that, estate. And then it also becomes something that is managed beyond you. And there are ways to do this thing if you really and truly are serious about it. And I know this because there are areas that I am working on for some of our clients. And I believe strongly that this is something we need to be thinking about, because a lot of African names have now become extinct.
I agree.
Simply because they are not thinking beyond themselves. They're not thinking beyond now. They're not thinking beyond the present. If you're future-minded, focus on that future and see that future, then step back and begin to seize it by working at it. Work at it with people who have exposure. Work at it with people who have proven their own work and their worth. Because the truth about it is that this continent is loaded with life.
I agree. I agree.
That you think legacy.
I agree. Dr. Awesome, it's been awesome. It's been awesomely stimulating speaking with you, and it's been mentally enriching and emotionally satisfying for me as a person. And I'd like to believe for many of our viewers out there. I want to thank you so very much for agreeing to honor our invitation to be on the program. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate
it. It truly was a pleasure.
We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'd like to call it wraps on the show. Thank you so very much for being there with us. Until next time, it's bye for now.